What do you think is a company's most valuable asset? You know, a lot of the time, it's not something you can see or touch. It's an idea, a secret. Today, we're diving into a Supreme Court case that hinged on one of these secrets, and it forced our legal system to spell out exactly what a trade secret is and why it's so important to protect them. The entire massive legal battle we're about to unpack really boils down to this one huge explosive question. Can a court actually force a company to reveal the one thing, the one formula that makes its entire business work? It's a real clash of titans, the search for truth in a lawsuit versus the right to keep your business's secrets safe.
So let's meet the players in this story. On one side, we have Air Philippines Corporation, the airline, and on the other, there's Pennswell, a company that makes highly specialized industrial chemicals and lubricants. You know, the kind of essential stuff that keeps heavy machinery, like airplanes, running just right.
So you have to be wondering, how did a pretty standard business transaction escalate all the way to the Supreme Court? Well, believe it or not, the story starts in a surprisingly ordinary place. It all kicked off when Pennswell filed what should have been a very routine lawsuit. They said Air Philippines owed them just under 450,000 pesos for some lubricants. On the surface, it looks like a simple open and shut case of collecting a debt, but things were about to get a whole lot more complicated.
Air Philippines didn't just ignore the lawsuit, they fired back with a pretty stunning defense. They said, nope, we're not paying. But not because of a problem with this order. They claimed they had been defrauded in a completely different, earlier deal.
And here is the heart of what Air Philippines was claiming. They believed Pennswell had taken some of their existing products, things like anti-friction fluid, and just slapped a brand new name on them, like excellent rust corrosion, and then sold them as a whole new, premium, and more expensive product. Basically, they were accusing Pennswell of selling them the exact same stuff, just in a fancier bottle.
So, to try and prove this fraud claim, the legal fight took a really dramatic turn. It went from being about an unpaid bill to a direct attack on the very core of Pennswell's business.
Air Philippines made a critical move. They argued, hey, the only way to prove these products are identical is to compare their chemical formulas. So they went to court and demanded that Pennswell be forced to hand over the secret recipes for both the old and the new product lines.
And just like that, this case was on a legal roller coaster. Get this. In March 2004, the trial court actually agreed with Air Philippines and ordered Pennswell to reveal the formulas. But then, just 3 months later, that same court did a complete 180 and reversed its decision, saying the formulas were protected trade secrets. The Court of Appeals agreed with the reversal, and eventually, this whole fight landed in the lap of the Supreme Court for the final word.
Okay, so all this back and forth in the courts shows that this entire case hangs on one crucial idea. Before we can get to the final verdict, we have to stop and ask the same question the judges did. What exactly is a trade secret anyway?
All right, so here's the official legal definition. It's a plan, a process, a tool, or a chemical compound that's known only by the owner and the few key employees who absolutely need to know it. Just think of it as the secret sauce that gives a business its edge over the competition, precisely because no one else knows what's in it.
So how does a court decide if something is really a trade secret? Well, you can't just slap a secret label on it and call it a day. The courts use a kind of checklist, a 6-factor test like this one. They'll ask things like, how many people outside the company know this? What about inside the company? Did you actually take steps to keep it a secret? And critically, how valuable is it and how hard was it to develop? This is the exact framework the Supreme Court used to look at Pennswell's formula.
All right, so now that we're all on the same page about what a trade secret is, let's get back to the courtroom. After years of legal battles, the Supreme Court was finally ready to hand down its verdict.
And the decision was crystal clear. The Supreme Court sided with Pennswell. It officially declared that the chemical formulas were, in fact, protected trade secrets, and therefore Pennswell could not be forced to reveal them.
And if you want to understand the court's thinking, you just have to read this powerful line from their decision. They saw that forcing Pennswell to reveal its formula wasn't just some legal technicality. No, it was an existential threat. It would have been like handing the keys to the kingdom to all their competitors and would probably have destroyed their business. A key part of the court's reasoning came down to one single word: indispensable. They decided that while protecting a secret isn't an absolute get-out-of-jail-free card, in this case, revealing the formula just wasn't essential to settling the original money dispute. The court believed Air Philippines had other ways to argue their case without forcing Pennswell to commit corporate suicide.
Now, this ruling was about way more than just one company's lubricant formula. The Supreme Court used this case to make a much bigger, much broader point about the role that trade secrets play in our entire economy.
The court pointed out that protecting commercial secrets isn't some new radical idea. It's actually a principle that's woven into the very fabric of our laws. You can find protections for this kind of information in everything from the tax code to environmental laws. So this decision was standing on some very solid legal ground.
And this right here, this is the big so what of the whole case. The court drew a direct line from protecting one company's secret formula to helping the entire country progress. The logic is actually pretty simple. If you can't protect your best ideas, why would you ever spend the time, the effort, and the money to come up with them in the first place?
So the ultimate takeaway is this. The law doesn't protect secrets just for the sake of being secretive. It protects them because that protection is one of the key ingredients for a healthy, competitive, and innovative economy that, in the end, benefits everyone.
And that leaves us with a final, pretty big thought for today. We live in an age of data leaks, cyber espionage, and information that travels at the speed of light. The challenge of protecting these vital secrets has never been greater. It forces us to constantly ask ourselves, how do we strike the right balance between the search for truth and the absolute need to protect the ideas that fuel our future?